The following is an exclusive presentation of Cablevision local programming, TV that's close to home.
Today we sit down with legislator Liz Ann Altman to discuss new voting machines in Nassau County. And later in the show we'll be joined by CSEA President Jerry Laricchiuta next on Cablevision's Meet the Leaders. Hello and welcome to Cablevision's Meet the Leaders, a program designed to inform and update you about your community and issues right here on Long Island. With us today is Nassau County Legislator Liz Ann Altman. Liz Ann, it's always good to have you with us.
Nice to see you, Pat.
Now, you represent a part of Nassau County that's up, as I would describe, probably in the northwest corner of Nassau, right on the Queens border.
Right.
And maybe you could just describe the communities that you represent, then we'll get into some of these countywide issues.
Well, I represent the community of Great Neck, as everybody knows, Herrick's, North New Hyde Park, and also Manhasset. Very diverse community, lots of newcomers to the area, lots of kids in the school district who don't come from the United States. It's a real melting pot, and it's an exciting district to represent. It's very liberal, very educated.
You know, it's such a fascinating place because in addition to all of you know, the fact that it's a very dynamic community, and,
right.
and you have a lot of people coming from places like Persia and elsewhere
right.
coming in, and there's a real dynamism there. You also probably have more villages
right.
and levels of government than any other legislative district in Nassau County, or maybe even the state.
That's true. Governmentally, it's like three-level chess all the time,
right.
because no matter what you try to do, there's a moving part in there that doesn't want to move.
And you say, gee, I want to do this thing. Let me just check. Is this which village is it in, or is it the town of North Hempstead?
Right.
Or is it, and what special district is affected?
Yeah, my most famous story in my district is there was a light bulb that had to be changed. And
literally?
There were three, yes. There were three jurisdictions that were involved because it was right near the Long Island Railroad. It was MTA, it was the village of Thomaston, and it was the town of North Hempstead. And I was threatening to go up and change it myself at one point. I said, forget it, I'm just going to allow.
So how did you, who finally went up there and changed the bulb?
I think the village of Thomaston finally decided to do it.
So the question is, how many politicians did it take to change that
right.
light bulb?
We have a new version of that joke, right?
Let's talk about an issue that I know you're very concerned about, and that has to do with electronic voting machines.
Right.
And potential problems with them. Now, just to kind of lay out why states like New York and others are in the process of bringing in new modern voting machines.
Right.
Give us the background and then where we are today.
Okay. No one forgets the Gore election or not election, of course, and the debacle
right.
in Florida. Nobody will forget what happened there. So in response, the federal government produced the Help America Vote Act, which was supposed to help us vote. And it would provide federal dollars to states that would do a better job of having voting machines and paper and things like that that would help their citizens vote and vote in a way that could be verified. Unfortunately, in the last few years, many of the states opted for these electronic voting machines that are like, you know, computer terminals, ATMs, whatever.
Like you would see at a bank.
Exactly right. And they even had little curly paper trails that came out of them. And there have been disasters across the country. In the meantime, New York, for the first time, because, I mean, this is the first time I've actually ever seen this, the screw-up in the state actually has benefited the citizens of New York.
Screw-up in the sense that we're way behind other states.
We took so long to figure it out that we've actually managed to bypass the disaster. And we're in a unique position now in New York State, and I know there are a couple of assemblywomen who've just introduced a bill that would say, no, the state should have one system, which we're hoping is going to be an optical scan system, and they will then rescind the original legislation that was passed in the state that was asking each county to choose, and each county could have chosen either an optical scan or an electronic vote, you know, electronic. So we've actually made progress as a result of the fact that they took so long.
Well, what is wrong with the machines that we're used to? You have the machines that go in, you have the rows, everybody
right.
votes. Row A is whoever the governor's party is, row B is the other
right.
party, and then you have minor parties. And you just go and flick the leather, and there's a
yeah.
little tumbler in the back.
I've got no problem with
them. It's pretty
them.
simple.
And I've hooked up with Steve Levy in Suffolk County. There is a lawsuit at the state level to try to keep those, but part of the Help America Vote Act may say that we cannot. The Department of Justice may come in and say, no, 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 you can't do that.
Now, isn't one of the problems with the old machines, I mean, there are a variety of things we've heard. One is that they're really not manufacturing them. Again, it's hard to get the parts needed to replace them, although they're pretty simple. The second is that you have to have you want to have a paper trail.
Right.
And obviously with the lever, you don't have a paper trail, although
right.
They check to make sure.
You could retrofit them, I suppose.
You could. But what you're saying is that the federal government doesn't mandate that with these new electronic machines that they have a paper trail. That's really a local decision or a statewide decision.
Yeah, but the federal government is also about to jump on this issue, and it was one of Nancy Pelosi's ideas for their first 100 hours. So there's a real, on the federal level, there's a real push for this paper trail. So I don't think New York will be able to escape some of the new federal regulations.
Now, we've all seen situations with computers and elsewhere where sometimes you think you're sending an email with a certain amount of information,
right.
and it comes back or gets sent and it's just gibberish on it.
Right.
Would the receipt, is the paper trail, is that sufficient where you could go back and actually count them separate and apart from the machine?
Well, this is part of the problem with the DRE machines, and the advantage of the optical scanning machine would be that you would have something like the size of
right.
that paper, and you would fill in the little spots like you do on a test in high school or something. You put it through the optical scanner, and then that actual piece of paper that goes through becomes the record, which is very, let's face
right.
it, nobody can really tamper with that,
no.
and it's also easy to count.
So you would have literally that record where that would then go into a ballot box
yep,
that would be
drops
secure.
right down into the box.
And once you put it through the scanner, it automatically counts, but they could go back and recount the actual
Absolutely.
documents.
And part of the problem with the DRE machines is the curly paper that comes out.
Yes.
Very subject to humidity. If you get a receipt like that and you stuff it in your briefcase, in a couple of days it's mangled, So.
Yeah, it's like going to the gas station and charge you with your credit card. I look at these pieces of paper and say, what is
right.
What
Once you
what
do
is
your
this?
expense
It's
report,
all
you can't
smeared.
figure it out anymore.
Yeah, it's all smeared. So getting back to the Help America Vote Act, there are penalties for states that don't act, because I know that the state of New York has already gotten a lot of money from the feds.
Right. We're already in an agreement with the Department of Justice that gave us a timetable, because we missed the earlier deadlines, obviously. And there are millions of dollars at stake. So what we're trying to do now, the state is now back in federal court, and Nassau County is actually joined into the federal lawsuit now. So we won't lose another $50 million. I mean, there's a lot of dough at stake. And the Department of Justice is not happy with New York State, but things have changed now. With the Democrats coming into Congress, a renewed look at the verified paper trails, et cetera, we're on the right side of this finally. What's
interesting is that over the years, in New York State, the entity responsible for running elections are the counties.
Right.
Except like the city of New York, where they do it citywide for all of the counties or the boroughs in the city. And it would vary from county to county.
Right.
In Suffolk County, we, over the years, have worked very hard to upgrade and computerize the system. So you can literally go at the Suffolk County website
right.
and get the count just as of how many people have voted,
right.
as soon as the polls close and as the votes come in, because it all gets recorded
right.
on their website and it's live, it's real time. Other counties don't have that. So would this create a uniform system where they would all have the same capacity in terms of infrastructure, support, making sure that the public gets information on votes and it's as transparent as possible?
That's exactly what the state is going to try to do now. I think it's Assemblywoman Golliff who's introduced it on the Assembly side. I contacted our new state senator, Craig Johnson, and I sent him an email. I said, Senator, it's a good issue for you. So I think that we're going to get some correction in New York State. Hopefully we'll have a uniform system that does exactly as you've just said.
Which makes sense. And I know that over the years you've struggled in Nassau County to upgrade your system.
Oh, we've had a terrible time. We're like in the Stone Ages.
Yeah, to get to the point where you have electronic records that are easy to produce and
right.
document.
Oh, we've had elections where you have to wait till 11:30, 12 o'clock at night where precincts haven't reported. Creates a lot of tension, naturally, for candidates.
And at the end of the day, this really comes down to a very simple thing, which is that when people cast their vote, they need to be guaranteed that that vote is going to be counted, and it's going to be counted
right.
accurately.
Absolutely, and the software companies that made this software software for some of these DRE machines have said, well, no, this is proprietary software to us. Well, listen, let me tell you something. That's like privatizing elections, and I don't think that's a great idea.
No, it's a kind of a scary thought.
It's a very, very frightening thought.
Knowing how easily things can get hacked into.
Yeah.
We have to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some other issues that are on your mind, such as the quality of life in Nassau County. And we're going to be joined by CSEA President Jerry Laricchiuta, so stay with us.
Hello, we're Friends of Karen family, one of hundreds of tri-state families who have been helped by Friends of Karen when our son Luke was diagnosed with leukemia. With the emotional and financial support of Friends of Karen, we've been able to cope at these very overwhelming and traumatic times. Families with very sick children need to know that they're not alone. We need your support to continue to help them.
I helped build it.
So did I.
We're helping too.
Nosotros ayudamos, ahora es nuestra.
Musicians are helping too. We helped build it. We all helped build it.
Rosa and I helped build it too. Through 3 years and 200,000 houses, Habitat for Humanity has been building homes and lives in America and around the world.
Habitat for Humanity. Support the work in your community.
The Lighthouse Mission in Patchogue is expanding their resources on Long Island to enable men, women, and children to have hope for a better tomorrow. For the last 14 years, lives of thousands of people have been restored and transformed. Find out how you can contribute to make a difference in the lives of those in need. Call the Lighthouse Mission at 631-758-7584.
Welcome back to Cablevision's Meet the Leaders. Our guest is Nassau County Legislator Liz Ann Altman and CSEA President Jerry Laricchiuta. Jerry, it's good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Now, you have the responsibility of representing public employees in Nassau County. And, you know, what's interesting is that as people think about government and the services that they get, by and large, it's your members who deliver those services every day.
Yeah, my members are out there every day. We have 6,800 county workers. We represent about 10,000, but 6,800 of them are on the county side, and they really make the county run. They are the heart and soul in Nassau County. I've been saying that for years, and I think it's a good bargain that the county.
Well, you know,
get.
when you're talking to people, and you know, the first thing they say is, "Oh, we have too much government. Our property taxes are too high, and we're paying too much for government services. People are making too much. The benefits are too high." And I think it would be helpful if we go to a pie chart that we're going to put up right over here behind me in the Meet the Leaders screen there, that shows what people pay in property taxes and what they get. Here, why don't you talk about that, Jerry?
I think really most residents would be surprised to learn that this is a real tax bill, by the way. I think the property taxes on this bill were somewhere around $8,000.
And what was that, a typical home in Levittown?
Typical home in Levittown.
Okay.
Okay, and you can see 68.4% of that tax bill goes to the school district.
That's the red.
That's the red. That's the big part. I mean, only 14.2% goes to the entire county.
So that would be about $1,400 going to the county, and that covers what? Everything from public safety?
That covers everything that the county spends in their budget. And of course, about 50% of that figure there would count for every single public employee from all the different departments, including their fringe benefits and everything. So $1,400, let's say about $700 of that plan, of that bill would go to pay for all your services.
You know, what's so interesting is that when people complain about taxes, and I think one of the things that has contributed to the sense of frustration people have is the reassessment that the county was ordered to do, because all of a sudden property values went up. and people's incomes didn't go up.
Right.
So, Lizanne, but when you look at that 14% for the range of county services that you get a lot of service for your money out of Nassau.
Oh, it's extraordinary. We have a college. We maintain a jail safely. We maintain your roads. We take care of social services. I mean, it's really extraordinary. Plus, on top of that, obviously, you have public safety. So you've got police officers. So, you know, people are getting a tremendous bang for their buck in Nassau County.
And Jerry, it hasn't been easy as the county has worked through its fiscal problems for public employees, because as Tom Swazi is fond of saying when he's here, he says we're actually working with less employees than we've had over the past. Now, I'm sure as a labor leader, you can make a good argument for more, but the bottom line is that people are working pretty hard.
Well, people have to understand there's a fine balance, and Tom Swazi's not 100% wrong, and I'm not 100% right. There's a fine balance between, you know, how many employees we need and the services that we get. And, you know, in all fairness in the county, it is a big nut to spend this kind of money each year. But the services that we get in Nassau County is second to none. You can look around. I mean, Suffolk County has pretty good services too. But if you travel across New York State, you go down south out to the Midwest, you will see that Nassau County offers their residents services that are really unheard of. I mean, we have our own AMT division, where our police ambulance bureau, if you dial 911, you don't only get the fire department, but you get your own ambulance division here, school crossing guards.
And that means that's literally saving lives every day.
Literally saving lives.
Because one of the big problems that volunteer services have is that during the day when everybody's working, including the volunteers, response time in places like Suffolk County, where they don't have AMT service, sometimes can be a lot longer than it should be, especially if somebody's having a heart attack.
Right.
It's a good point, Pat. And, you know, take it for granted. You know, they also forget is the Nassau County employee is also the Nassau County resident and taxpayer. And we all feel and share the same pain. But really, I want the residents to know, and I want everyone to understand that it's such a small part of that chart really goes
14% of our tax bill. So, Lizanne, why is it that people have the perception every time you guys are struggling with the budget that the county tax is the part that's the most crushing burden?
Part of the problem is that when expressed as a percentage, for instance, 3.9%, which is anticipated as a potential tax increase in our 4-year plan, the resident will say, "Oh, wait, let's round that up. What's 4% of my total tax bill?"
Of that $10,000
and so
they'll
say to themselves, "Let me multiply 4 times 10,000. So they figure, you know, they're going to get a $400 increase or something, and it isn't that much.
Matter of fact, I think on the system,
it's really 4% on 1,400.
Exactly,
it's like $60 a month.
Right.
$60 a year.
A year.
But I have to say, the media plays into this too, and so you know, you'll have a news crew go out, or a TV reporter or somebody, and say, you know, stick a mic in somebody's face and say, "Well, how do you feel about raising taxes?" So they demonize us also. So we're working against a miscalculation that's easy to make if you're a taxpayer, and the fact that everybody makes a big hoopla out of it.
And the other thing that you get from the county is that you get the savings that comes from scale.
Right.
In that, you know, you're a regional government, you're providing services to all the 1.2 million residents of Nassau County, and you're able to do it much more efficiently than if you had, you know, a lot of smaller governments doing the same thing.
Well, you have continuity as well, and that's the advantage of public employees over perhaps a privatized service, because you've got people who are dedicated. They know the county.
And you've got control over them as dedicated county workers. They have to answer to upper chain of command, and ultimately the county is their boss. And that's why you have such dedication within the county. Going to these private contractors, they do the job, they get the money, they run, they're off, and we usually have to maintain their job anyway.
How serious is the problem of contracting in terms of public services around the state, around the country, and on Long Island?
From the labor side, I can tell you, in Nassau County, I've seen an increase in privatizing and subcontracting in the last 4 or 5 years.
But how do you, Jerry, as a labor leader, say, okay, we understand that we have to increase productivity, and you know, the county could do this with county employees, or we can privatize it and bring in a private contractor. One of the things that's always struck me is that I don't think public employees are given an opportunity to be part of figuring out the management solutions to make things work more efficiently.
You're 100% right. And we do have someone that specializes just in that in our office. Whenever there's a subcontracting grievance that comes into our office, we have someone that goes out, studies, analyzes the job, and answers back and replies to the county and says, hey, you know what? We can do this job, or we can't do this job. Right. Sometimes we cannot do it. But the long and the short of it is that if we can do it, you're better off keeping it in-house, Pat, because we can maintain the job, we have better control over us, and we're not gone after the payment's made.
No, you're not, and there's a level of accountability there that if there's a problem, you can go out and fix it. You know, one of the things that we had going in Suffolk County when I was county executive is that we had a program, it was a labor management program, where we wanted our employees to generate money-saving ideas or ideas that would actually make us money where we do things better. And the employees got a percentage of the yearly savings. So we gave away some pretty big checks, but you know what? The people who do the work every day, they're the ones who had the knowledge, and they welcomed the opportunity to come forward with an idea. And again, it was a labor management thing, so we made sure that we properly accounted for it, and then we were happy to give those checks out as bonuses.
That's a great idea.
So, Liz-Ann, you ought to put that in Nassau County.
I think it's a fantastic idea.
We have to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about services in Nassau County, where your tax dollars are going. So stay with us. We're going to continue our conversation with Legislator Liz-Ann Altman and CSEA President Jerry Laricchiuta.
Discrimination hurts everyone, but through the wonder of stage, the Jelly Bean Theater Company's edutainment program helps us learn to stop the hate, stop the bias, stop the violence. For more information on how to schedule a performance of this unique program, please call today, 631-366-2612. Thank you.
Palomine Equestrian, Incorporated in 1995, is a not-for-profit organization dedicated to providing therapeutic, recreational, and competitive horseback riding to individuals with disabilities. Children and adults may walk or speak for the very first time at Palomine. The horse is used as a therapy tool and give those who are blind or in a wheelchair a sense of freedom. Youth who are at risk or abused gain a sense of empowerment.
Sometimes you really need to talk because you're going through a hard time, because friends don't always understand, because you're worried about a loved one. At Responsive Suffolk County, counselors will talk to you about anything, day or night. Call the hotline or reach us online, because sometimes you really need to talk.
This is Cablevision's Meet the Leaders. Our guests are Nassau County Legislator Liz-Ann Altman and CSEA President Jerry Laricchiuta. You know, when you talk about county services, one of the most important things, Liz-Ann, that the county does is to provide high-quality public health care to all of your residents, anybody who wants it, whether you have insurance or don't, whether you're a public employee or in the private sector. Can get high-quality health care at the county clinics and also at the county medical center. Right. But for years, the county has struggled with keeping that system solvent.
Right. Yeah, it's been tough. It was a real evolution. When I was first a legislator, the county was responsible for Nassau Medical Center. It was spun off into a public benefit corporation. And as you'll remember, there were problems associated with that because the previous administration needed part of the sale of that to close a budget hole. So that became a problem. But now, finally, it seems to be on good footing. We have a new CEO president over there, Archie Anelli, who was sort of a magician at the county, and he's doing his magic now.
Well, he was the architect of the county's financial plan that Tom Suozzi and the legislature put in place. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we were able to dodge some of the budget cuts last year from Governor Pataki. I know that there's concern this year on the part of Art not only about the local cuts, state cuts, but also federal cuts to Medicaid, et cetera. There are a lot of challenges ahead, but at least the situation has become stabilized.
Now, Jerry, your members, again, provide high-quality services there. They provide, there are a whole range of jobs. What kinds of things do members of the CSEA do at the medical center?
Well, we have about 3,000 members there, Pat, and many of them are nurses. We even represent the doctors there. The nurses, the doctors, the housekeeping staff that are there, the entire maintenance division there, public safety that works around the hospital, and even the ambulance drivers that work directly for the hospital. So it's a whole array of people that are proud to be there, and they're very happy with the way things are going now because they see a future. The hospital's coming back.
Now, at the time when the comptroller of Nassau County was worrying that they literally would run out of money and not have enough money to meet payroll and pay their other bills, or where there was uncertainty as to the direction that it was going in, your employees bore a lot of the cuts and the burden of the staff and payroll reductions.
Yeah, we lost over 940 members there to layoffs during the days of Turan and then Dan Kane. And if you remember, we were pretty strong advocate for having a change in leadership there, which we were successful in lobbying people like Lizanne and the County Executive Swazi, and which brought Art Gianelli in. Art is a breath of fresh air. He's been able to find money. He's been able to secure some funding from both the federal and the state government and move forward. And the future looks bright. Unfortunately, the new plan coming down from Albany today, and like Lizanne alluded to, the federal government, it's like 5 steps forward, 3 back.
Yeah, because in the end, this work has to be subsidized because this is a public hospital that serves a lot of people who don't have health care insurance. Some of them are indigent, others are people who have just been laid off. Some of them are people who work in jobs where it's just not being offered.
Right, and part of the healthcare corporation is Holly Patterson, which is our county nursing home as well. And that, Jerry can tell you, that's been a drain for years. And there is land that's around Holly Patterson that's very valuable. And so the county executive will work, obviously, with Art and some of the people over there to try to see if we can put something together there that could create some extra revenue for the hospital and not upset the Uniondale community.
Now, Jerry, we have only about 30 seconds left, and I think you said something or alluded to it that's really interesting. And that, people think of labor leaders as being obstructionists and not understanding the bigger problems, not recognizing that they have to be part of the solution.
Right.
How is it working now at the medical center in terms of structuring financial solutions that not only assure that the medical center stays solvent, but also assures that people are getting high-quality care?
CSEA has partnered, and this is words from Art Gianelli. We have partnered along with the administration there and Art to help together to make that hospital stronger, and we want to secure the future there for both the residents of Nassau County and Long Island and for our members, for job security. We love this place, and we're all Nassau County residents, and we're going to help. We're going to be part of the solution in this one.
Okay, I want to thank you both for being with us. Again, thanks to Nassau County Legislator Liz Ann Altman and CSEA President Jerry Laricchiuta for being here today. And thank you for watching Cablevision's Meet the Leaders. I'm Pat Halpin. We'll see you again next time.
The Ketchum Restoration Project started in 1989 after attaining state and national register status, acquisition, and subsequent matching grants through the New York State Parks. The Ketchum Foundation Incorporated is located in Center Moriches. We offer opportunities to appreciate our cultural roots and educational programs in architecture and history for the public.
Did you know that Nassau and Suffolk counties rank the highest in New York State in alcohol-related crashes? Let's work together and make our communities a safer place to live. I'm legislator Stephen Stern.
And I'm Dina Cohen, president of Mothers Against Drunk Driving. While celebrating next year's holidays, remember this year's holidays with fond memories and not tears. Drink responsibly and designate a driver.